this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel, and I have two stories to share with you in this very latest Moon Lambo hot jam. The first one is a story that just a year ago would have been just unfathomable, basically impossible. And as it turns out that a company which is issuing assets on the XRP ledger, real world assets, they're meeting with the SEC. Now, a year ago, if there were a firm meeting with the SEC, you'd be like, ooh, gosh, did you didn't get the memo? When you meet with the SEC, that's what they're using as intel to then go turn around and sue your ass. I mean, Ripple learned that the hard way, unfortunately, as did Library and many others. If you come in to talk to the SEC, it turns out that's lead generation for them. That's what it is. But now, not so much. There's a new administration in charge. The tone has completely changed. And as it turns out, the SEC, if you have the right leadership in charge, it seems like it can actually be a proper and respectable organization again. Go figure, right? And it's cool to see this, though. All this is going to do is help further the adoption of crypto, broadly speaking. But please understand that the XRP ledger being used as a primary platform for the tokenization of real-world assets, that's going to ridiculously cement XRP. And it makes sense because XRP is like one of the first chains ever we can do things like this. I mean, it's just frankly amazing that the vision that so many XRP holders believed could and would come true a decade ago, it's here now. And it is working, and it is playing out in many ways like people expected. It's just there were obviously some bumps along the way, to put it lightly. We also have this. How long until XRP gets its own strategy? And what's being referenced here is a couple things. So there are a couple firms doing interesting things in terms of being crypto-specific companies for holdings. I'm sure that many of you are familiar with Michael Saylor, the toxic Bitcoin maximalist, is the founder and former CEO of MicroStrategy, which is rebranded to just Strategy now because it's cleaner, right? As the bros say. It's cleaner to just call it Strategy. Well, when's XRP going to get a company that just is basically an XRP holding company? Good question. Might be coming. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice. And you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. All right, so to set the table a little bit to get into this first topic here, I just want to make sure everybody's aware of this. There are a lot of firms that are seeking to tokenize on the XRP ledger because it just makes sense. Tokenizing real-world assets. Because it makes sense for basically every financial asset in existence to be tokenized. And why wouldn't you be interested in tokenizing it on a blockchain like the XRP ledger, which is tried and true for over a decade? You know the damn thing works. And it's just excellent. Settles in real time. For transactions that are so cheap, they might as well be free. Fractions of a penny, like a thousandth of a penny, whatever it is. It's stupid cheap. And so firms are doing this. We had this headline from November 26, 2024. XRP holds strong as Archax unveils tokenized money market fund on XRP ledger. So that was among the first. Not literally. I mean, you can go back to 2015. There was a firm that was tokenizing gold. So like it's been happening. I'm just saying that the tokenization of real-world assets, it's picking up steam now. It's picking up speed and steam. We had this from January 28th of this year. Ondo finances tokenized U.S. Treasury to join XRP Ledger. And this is actually the firm in question, so check this out first, though. You got to know this part. Tokenization protocol Ondo Finance plans to deploy its tokenized U.S. Treasury fund on the XRP Ledger, giving investors access to institutional-grade government bonds that can be redeemed with stablecoins. According to a January 28th announcement, the Ondo short-term U.S. government treasuries fund will go live on the XRP Ledger within the next 6 months. The announcement said Ondo and XRP Ledger developer Ripple plan to seed OUSG liquidity, that's Ondo, immediately upon launch. OUSG provides exposure to short-term U.S. treasuries and is backed by the BlackRock USD Institutional Digital Liquidity Fund, BIDL, B-U-I-D-L. According to Ondo, OUSG offers intraday settlement and redemptions. And so you get the idea here. It's the tokenization of everything because it just makes sense to have it on an immutable ledger that settles in real time. You pick up efficiencies, including with the transaction costs. It's just so cheap to run the damn thing. Runs 24/7, 365. Makes sense. It's better than the old way of doing things. And this will help to ensure the long-term viability of XRP and the XRP ledger, which is why this all matters. And now that firm is meeting with the SEC. That's pretty damn cool because, again, a year ago, this would have been impossible and never would have happened. The headline here, SEC task force met with Trump-supporting firms to discuss crypto regulation. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission Crypto Task Force, headed by Hester Peirce, has continued meeting with digital asset company representatives as the agency explores regulatory changes. In an April 24 notice, the SEC task force disclosed a meeting with representatives from crypto firm Ondo Finance and the law firm Davis Polk and Wardwell. I'm saying that all wrong. Davis Polk and Wardwell. I'll tell you, that's a lawyer firm if I've ever heard one. It's always like 3 or 4 dudes' names, last names, and that's it. You just string them together, whatever order you want. That's a law firm. That's how you get it. Anyway, so it's Davis Polk and Wardwell to discuss issuing and selling wrapped tokenized versions of publicly traded U.S. securities. Ondo Finance donated $1 million to Donald Trump's inauguration fund, and the law firm announced on April 22nd that it would represent the U.S. president's social media company, True Social, to launch crypto-linked exchange-traded funds. So, folks, that's exactly what we've been talking about. And it's what we've been hoping would one day be reality for the last decade in the XRP community. That's it. And here you have somebody building on the XRP ledger, tokenizing on the XRP ledger, meeting with the SEC to find ways to expedite this. My friends, if you're listening to this in 2025, you are early to the party. Congratulations. This is why we have the opportunity for the life-changing wealth. According to the meeting request, Ondo Finance planned to discuss registration requirements for tokenized securities, compliance with financial laws, and potentially launching a regulatory sandbox. Cointelegraph reached out to the firm for comment but did not receive a response at the time of publication. The April 24th meeting was the latest in the SEC Crypto Task Force's outreach to the industry following the departure of former chair Kim Jong-Ginsler. And so that's cool to see. Would you be surprised if one day there's a company out there doing what Strategy is doing? Because Strategy, basically, what are they now? I mean, not that they don't, I'm not saying they don't literally do anything else. They're a Bitcoin holding company. And, of course, there's risks associated with that. And there's technically possibilities of getting liquidated. You can argue about, the odds of that happening. But, I mean, this is not me speculating that it's a risk. I don't know if I mentioned it on the channel yet, but Michael Saylor's Strategy, the firm, they acknowledged it in a disclosure because they're a publicly traded company. They have to cite publicly risks, things that are looking good for them, the whole 9 yards. They cited it as a risk that this could all go south and have to sell Bitcoin. Like that type of thing can happen. But still, there are all sorts of companies that want to be holding companies effectively. And so take a look at this headline. Strikes maulers to head firm seeking superior Bitcoin play to MicroStrategy. Now, Jack Mallers, he's the guy that created Strike, which basically is copying, in part anyway, copying what Ripple was doing like a decade ago. It took them 10 years to fall behind Ripple, and they finally had a tech demo basically showing what, on-demand liquidity does. And that was a few years ago at that point, but still. Anyway, 21 Capital, a new Bitcoin treasury company led by Strike founder Jack Mallers, with the support of Tether, SoftBank, and Cantor Fitzgerald, is looking to supplant Michael Saylor's Strategy to become the superior vehicle for investors seeking capital-efficient Bitcoin exposure. 21 revealed its plans to launch with 42,000 Bitcoin, worth $3.9 billion, with roughly 23,950 Bitcoin coming from Tether, 10,500 Bitcoin from SoftBank, and 7,000 Bitcoin from Bitfinex, which will be converted into equity at $10 per share, according to an April 23rd statement. And they stated also down here, I want you to read the whole article. Our mission is simple: to become the most successful company in Bitcoin, the most valuable financial opportunity of our lifetime. We're not here to beat the market. We're here to build a new one, said Mallers, the founder and CEO of Bitcoin payments-focused firm Strike. Oh, I'm sorry. Bitcoin right now, it's the most valuable financial opportunity of our lifetime. Have you heard of XRP? My God. XRP is just going to continue to outperform that son of a bitch. Anyway. Then we had this. Solana Strategy shares surged 25% after $500 million Solana acquisition announcement. Salana Strategy, an investment firm listed on the Canadian Securities Exchange under the ticker HODL, has announced a significant $500 million convertible note facility aimed at increasing its holdings in Solana tokens. Okay, so in part, it's not exactly the same, but in part, I don't need to get into the weeds. I don't think it's necessary here. They're taking the strategy business model. Okay, that's part of it. So then the question is, if this is a good idea, is it going to happen with XRP? Which brings us to this headline. How long until XRP gets its own strategy? Expert reacts as Solana receives $500 million investment. The XRP community is pondering the arrival of a strategy that invests in XRP, similar to what is available with other prominent crypto assets like Bitcoin and Solana. Dom Kwok, co-founder of EZA Labs, expressed his perspective in a tweet. Specifically, he asked how long it will take until the crypto community sees an XRP strategy that commits to investing in the asset. Right, and this very well may happen. In fact, this popped up in my feed. This caught my attention. This is from XRP community member Crypto Insight UK, well-known chart analyst in the community. And so he was sharing this news, and he said, "Who wants to help me start up a company for the sole purpose of XRP acquisition and holding? I'm serious now. We have multiple companies doing this for Bitcoin, and today one was announced for Solana. How do we do this?" So something like this could happen. He turns out he shared, that was on the 23rd. And so he shared another post because he got a ton of attention. He wrote, "By the way, fam, this had some insane response. It was a semi-joke, but seeing the demand, I'm going to explore this somewhat. My main and only concern is if things go wrong and people get hurt. I've done everything I can to avoid this generally with my channel, as you guys know. So, if I find a way this looks possible after I speak with some people over the next week or so, I will update. If someone cracks it, feel free to reach out. I am researching. A lot of people have contacted me, so excuse me if I don't get back to everyone." So that's fascinating. I'll not be surprised if something like this does happen, whether he moves forward with it with a group of other people or not. I share those same concerns, though. I worry about possible liquidation. It totally depends on the specifics and how it's structured, but I worry about, is there a chance to get liquidated? Could this go wrong? What are the legal implications? There's a lot. Like, this is a big deal if you're going to move forward with something like this, but it would be cool if somebody does this. And given just how gigantic XRP is at this point, and it's just getting bigger, it makes sense that you're going to see something like this in the future. There'll be a company that specifically is for holding XRP. And we'll see exactly what that might look like. And so I don't know if it'll be this with this group or some others. I don't know. But there are a lot of firms engaging in activity like this. It just makes sense that if it's going to happen with others, maybe it would with XRP too. The ecosystem just keeps getting bigger and bigger. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.